Nintendo has struck an absolute goldmine with Pokémon, a franchise that has rarely lost its novelty even after dozens upon dozens of entries over decades. As such, it seems rather weird that not a lot of other developers and publishers have tried to copy the formula to rake in copious amounts of cash. That said, it's not that there's a complete absence of releases that are similar in concept to Pokémon, but they are so few and far between to be considered as some viable alternative to this behemoth of a franchise. Enter developer Pocket Pair, a video game developer based out of Japan that's currently hard at work on Palworld. Taking heavy inspiration from Pokémon, Palworld is an open-world survival game that seems to be a fresh take on the tried and tested formula of collecting Pokémon. One that could very well end up being a smash hit. Palworld is a game that's really complex and densely packed when it comes to features and mechanics, so we finally ask the question, what the hell exactly is Palworld? Set against what seems to be a fantastical world inhabited by strange creatures that are known as Pals, Palworld will see players surviving and thriving in these lands as a huntress. There's also an enemy force that's known as poachers, who seek to kill the many Pals in this world. Pocket Pair hasn't provided a lot of details regarding Palworld's story, but what's interesting here is that the developer isn't shying away from veering into darker territory with the game, which opens up a lot of avenues for fun and interesting stories to tell through the world and its many characters. Given the sheer variety of Pals that players can find in the world, Palworld will most likely feature an extensive lore element regarding how the Pals came to be and what caused the conflict between them and the poachers. Though to counter that, Pocket Pair has emphasized that Palworld is all about living a slow life with these creatures, so it's also possible that the game might not delve that much into the narrative aspects of the experience. Either way, the potential is there, and we'd really like to see the developer paying due attention to crafting an entertaining story. Coming on to the gameplay side of things, Palworld is an open-world survival game, and as such, the bread and butter of the gameplay loop are ensuring one's survival by any means possible. But the main attraction is unsurprisingly collecting different Pals. Much like how the case is with Pokémon, players will be roaming the vast environments in search of Pals to catch under their possession. Players can use these Pals for a wide variety of tasks, including but not limited to building, combat, and more. Firstly, let's talk about crafting. Palworld features a robust crafting mechanic, where it allows players to construct different kinds of structures to their heart's content. You can craft anything from a simple house to an extensive base of operations filled to the brim with all sorts of machines to automated factories, all thanks to the collective power of your Pal buddies. You can also create farms for yourself, which can be used to produce different kinds of crops. Each Pal type will have its own strengths and weaknesses, so players will have to use them efficiently if they wish to make the most out of their resources. For instance, a water-type Pal would be a perfect fit for breeding crops, while an electric-type Pal might be the most resourceful option for running electricity-powered factories and automation and what have you. Of course, the usefulness of these Pals extends much farther than just simple crafting. Pals can also be used to aid in exploration. You can hang to the bottom of many airborne Pals to gracefully glide around from high vantage points, or you could instead ride the back of your Pals to cover distances quickly. The world will most likely be split up into different biomes, each with a different set of challenges to tackle, so it's possible that players might also need to switch between different forms of traversal to better suit the challenges that lie before them. And arguably the biggest differentiator of Palworld when it comes to comparisons is its combat system. Unlike Pokémon, Palworld will feature a robust third-person shooter combat system that will see players combating poachers and hostile Pals alike, presumably by using a wide array of weapons. Much like its obvious inspirations, players will have a trusty Pal by their side at all times. So, when you encounter a larger creature that you want to catch, you can summon your Pals to fight alongside you and help defeat those enemies before finally catching them. Additionally, Palworld's overworld map will be filled with many dungeons filled with poachers that players will have to clear. The game's trailer also showed off a couple of boss enemies that players will encounter in the open world, so expect some bombastic fights on that front as well. In addition to how a player progression loop entails crafting machines and collecting gear, each Pal will also have its own progression in the form of evolution. Players can also breed different types of Pals together to create a new creature, one that will inherit the characteristics of the different Pals. While we don't know the extent of this breeding mechanic, it certainly sounds interesting, and we can't wait to see how that will pan out in execution. While Palworld can be played solo, developer Pocket Pair has also promised full support for co-op. So essentially, players can jump into a game together to clear out dungeons, hunt pals, craft buildings, and what have you. While we don't know how the progression would work in co-op, we do know that Palworld will also feature PvP elements, where players will be able to pit themselves and their pals against each other, much like Pokemon. Palworld will also feature the ability to trade pals with fellow players. As is evident from the trailers, Palworld looks gorgeous on a visual level. The developer has used a smart mix of cartoony aesthetics for characters and pals, mixed with realistic lighting and textures for the environment, which create a really mesmerizing and unique look for the game. Now coming to details surrounding the release, Palworld is currently slated for release on PC via Steam. Of course, it's possible that the game may be ported over to consoles if it garners enough critical and commercial success, but it's not a speculation that fans should bank on for now. As for the release date, Palworld's Steam listing shows a planned release date of 2023. As always, it's best for developers to take the time that's required to polish a game, and we're hoping, with crossed fingers, that Palworld ends up being worth the wait. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on GamingBolt.